All right, so the third lesson for today is multi-step equations. Usually when you have variables on both sides or more than one variable on the same side. It requires a little bit more steps. So here, you notice you have two x's right here. You have a 3x and a 2x. Well, when you're solving for x, remember, you want the x by itself, but when you have two x's, what you want to do is you want to combine your like terms. You want to put these terms together. So 3x and positive 2x should be combined. So you should get 5x. I'm not canceling it out, I'm not moving it, I'm just adding them together. So I'm just rewriting the problem by combining my like terms. All right, now I can solve it just like the other ones. If I'm going to solve for this, I got to get rid of this negative 4. The inverse of negative 4 is adding 4. That'll cancel it out here. Now I get 5x equals 15. The last step here would be to divide by 5. So divide both sides by 5. You get x equals 3. Right there. By combining my like terms. Now, sometimes their variables are not on the same side, so you have to put the variables on the same side. Here, your variables are on opposite sides of the equation. And when I say opposite sides, I mean on the opposite side of the equal sign. Okay? So here's what you actually want to do. You want to put your y's together. Now in this case, you can't combine your like terms. You have to move it with inverse operations. So if you want to get rid of this minus 3y and put it over here, you got to use inverse operations. The opposite of minus 3y is adding 3y to both sides. The y here will cancel out, but now over here you have 6y plus 7 equals 25. And this is the problem. And now we just do what we did last time, solve using inverse operations. The inverse of adding 7 is subtracting 7. We get 6y equals 18. That 6 is multiplying, so to get rid of that 6, we divide both sides by 6. 6's cancel out. Y equals 3. Okay, so this is not the same as the last one, because in the last one, the y's were together on the left side. These were split up, so when that happens, you got to put them together, all right? Okay, here, this is the same deal. You have two x's, but they're not on the same side. Now, before you move anything, when these are in parentheses, you have to distribute first. You have to. You can't move anything until you distribute the number outside the parentheses to the numbers inside the parentheses. So you get something like this. So what just happened? Since you're multiplying 1/4, 1/4 times 4 will be 4 over 4. 1/4 times 8 will be 8 times 1, 8 over 4. So you get this. You simplify it. You get 1x plus 2 equals x plus 2. Nothing changed here. We just distributed. Now this is weird, because if you start moving things, you're going to notice something. Okay, I want to put my x's on the same side. So I'm going to move this x minus 1x over here, minus 1x. They both cancel out. And if you try to move the 2, minus 2 to both sides, they both cancel out. You're left with 0 equals 0. So what just happened? What happened was this. The x's will always cancel out because you have the same number on this side and you have on this side. So what is your answer for x? The answer for x is all real numbers, because it doesn't matter what number you plug in for x, you're always going to end up with the same thing, 0 equals 0. They will always cancel out. So you can plug in 10, you can plug in 100, you can plug in 50, and they will cancel out to this, and then this will cancel out to this. So what's your answer for x? Any number you want. It doesn't change what will happen. All right? So when your x's cancel out and you have the same thing on both sides, it's all real numbers. Now, sometimes you get this. Right, so again, you can't move anything until you distribute. So we're going to distribute 0.5 to both sides. Use a calculator if you need to. Okay. So, right here, the 3's will cancel out. Left with 5y equals 2y. Now, you have too many y's, so you want to move one to the other side. Now, this is different. The y's do not cancel out. You have this. 3y equals 0. If you divide that by 3, you get 0 divided by 3 is still 0. So this is not all real numbers. In this case, the answer is 0. The only way this equation works, the only way they're equal to each other, is if y is 0. That's the only way it works. So this is not all real numbers. Now, something else could happen like this. All right, so here, when you distribute this, you would get 2y minus 6. Here you get 2y plus 6. Now, the 6's will not cancel out. In this case, what will happen when you try to put the y's together, the y's will cancel out. And you're left with negative 6 equals positive 6. Now, you have to remember what we're doing. In all these questions that I was showing you, solving for y or solving for x, right? In this case, you got the same thing on both sides, so that was all real numbers. In this case, you got y equals 0. There is no letter left to solve. There is no variable to solve. All you're left with is two different numbers. Now, negative 6 is equal to 6. That's not true. This is not a real statement. That doesn't make sense. So guys, what that means is these two equations will never be equal, or these two expressions will never be equal. So this is a no solution. There is no solution in this case. If you don't get the same thing on both sides, the way you got this 0 equals 0 or 2 equals 2, you don't get that here. So there's a no solution, all right? And that is multi-step equations.